guys. Welcome to the Hot Tub Club where inspiration bubbles up. I'm your host, Samara Renee, and today we have a very, very, very special guest, and we are bringing on truly exceptional person, human being, mom, businesswoman, Mary Lanzas. So weird to use your last name. That's not what I'm used to, but okay. We're going to talk today all about dating. Mary is my best friend since fourth grade. Mary, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. So great to be here.
By the way, I like the colors of your outfit.
Oh, thank you.
A
Orange
little,
and red are like my vibes.
yeah,
So I had to represent.
I love it. I love it. Welcome. And let's kick off with how we met. Do you remember how we met?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Okay, break it
I
down.
remember it so vividly. We had just gotten off the bus and we were walking up the street home after school.
Mhm.
And you and Sabrina, I think, approached Liz and I because we were too shy to talk to you guys. And you were like, oh, don't you live next door to us?
Mhm.
And you guys introduced yourselves, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah. So I think we moved in November, and we were going to Vine by bus from our old house for the first month and a half of school. We moved in, and I remember seeing these children next door who kept looking at us, and you guys
Oh, yeah,
were
we were like, who is this?
hiding.
Who just moved in? Because no one lived there for a while, and we were always scoping it out. And then finally, a family with children moved in, so we were super into it.
Who was the last person who lived in that house? Do you remember?
I forgot their names, but they were like a couple of generations. There was an older mom and dad, and then like the adult kids were living there.
Mhm.
There was one of the guys was a biker. He like was
Oh my
always rolling up
God.
on his motorcycle. There was like a little girl who would come over and play sometimes, but she was little. She was a lot younger than us. But and then they finally moved, and then the house was vacant for a while, and then lo and behold, you guys, it was meant to be.
It became the spooky house, right? It was kind of like the
Yeah, it was
spooky
kind
house.
of like because I feel like it was kind of abandoned for a while, and
I know we
before
had
they
like a lot
sold
of
it.
overgrowth in the backyard and stuff. I do
Yes, there was
remember
a lot
that.
of, they just let it go. I don't know if I don't think it got foreclosed or anything. I don't know what happened.
Mhm.
It was a really good thing that you moved next door because it changed our
Yay.
lives forever.
It did change our lives forever. I feel like we had such a magical childhood once we moved into that house because our old neighborhood, we really weren't allowed to go outside very much because it wasn't the greatest neighborhood. We had friends at Nisha and Nia, I think were their names, if I remember right. But we didn't play with them every single day. And most of the time, my mom's like, play in the backyard. So actually being able to go outside, ride our bikes in the neighborhood, play dolls on the porch.
Yeah.
You were my first friend. There's so many firsts with you guys. My first Jolly Rancher. I had no idea what a Jolly Rancher was. Are You Afraid of the Dark? That show.
90s vibes,
The 90s.
Nickelodeon.
Didn't know anything about that. Ska. You introduced me to ska.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was thanks to my brother, Robbie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I always think B-52s and Love
Yeah, like I
Shack.
was always into the 80s. Like my references for music were always from my older like brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And so I always like the 80s and all that. So
yeah, and it just reminds me, like, do you remember we used to listen to Roller Coaster of Love?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of love.
Yeah. 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 And
The
just
70s vibes.
so
yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And then also the coolest birthday ever. Birthday
Oh,
party.
yes,
Still
yes.
to this day, hands down. Tell everybody about it. But when we went to Mary, had her birthday party, we had a scavenger hunt at Smith's grocery store.
That's right.
And it was the best thing ever. I thought it was brilliant. Afterwards, we came back to her house and had dirt cups with pudding and Oreos and little gummy worms. I mean, charming. Also, you guys introduced us to Ritz crackers.
Oh my gosh, you never had Ritz
We
crackers?
never had Ritz crackers. Yeah,
I
we always
guess it's
had
'cause, like, we're
plain
white people.
saltine.
Like, I don't know.
Plain saltine crackers. That was us. That was us.
That's hilarious.
So many firsts. And speaking of first, since this is my first podcast specifically focused on dating, I think your story is great because you went through the whole experience of going through dating in your because how old were you when you got married?
It feels like I was older, but I was like almost 30. I think I was 33 when I got
Seriously?
married. Yeah, it feels like I was older, right? I acted like I was
Yeah.
40 getting married. I
Yeah.
thought my life was over. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah. For
No,
some reason, I thought you were older, but you guys have been
well,
together a
let's
long
see.
time.
I was 32 when I met him, and I just turned 33 when I got married.
Okay. That's
I thought I was,
crazy.
like, ancient, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
panicking like I was so old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met him on OkCupid
Mm-hmm.
in 2016, whilst a little under 2 years after I moved to LA. I always told you it was like my homework before bed. I would force myself to go do some online dating, browsing, and force myself to go on dates. You need to be going on dates every week because it's a numbers game. The more people you meet, the more people you have a chance to have a relationship with and get married. So I was always trying to do that because at my job, I wasn't going to meet anybody. The only place I was able to meet anybody really was online. I went places in LA, but people just don't come up to you in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one night I was just checking my, like, you would always check who viewed you. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily who messaged you, but who was viewing you, and you would view them back.
Mm-hmm.
If you were interested, then hopefully they would message you because I was not about to send a message, right? So I would just review who had looked at me, and he had looked at me. And so I looked at him, and, or was it that I looked at him and then he looked at me? I don't know. Looks were exchanged. Okay.
Yes.
Then the next day he messaged me, sent me this long message. He was one of those long winded
Yeah.
guys, sent the long message, but it wasn't like an annoying long. It was just, he was enthusiastic and
Mm-hmm.
optimistic, and he was just like a good vibe about him. And then we started text messaging. You know how it goes, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How long did you
But
guys text message before you had it, your first
that's a
date?
great question because I have something to say about that.
I love it.
Homie G texted me for like 3 weeks. And mind you, I'm still talking to other guys. I
Mm-hmm.
actually broke it off with another guy after I started talking to Jorge because I was already knew it wasn't going to go anywhere with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the process of breaking it off with that guy, but I was always talking to multiple guys at once because, again, it's a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a malicious thing. I wasn't cheating on anybody. I was just
Right.
dating new people and getting to know people. I wasn't getting involved with them like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just casually texting him because he was texting me. And then finally I made a comment after a few weeks and I was like, are you ever like, I don't know how I presented the question, but I was like, are you, I mean, if you ever ask me out, I don't know, like if I ever meet you. And then he got that hint and like
Mm-hmm.
immediately made a date, got to see him the next week. And then of course the rest is
That's the
history.
rest is history.
Sometimes
Yes.
guys need a little nudge, but we all know there's that one guy who just wants to message you forever and
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Oh yeah.
And you wonder what the story is. Sometimes they're married. Sometimes they're already in a relationship. Sometimes they have no intention of a relationship with anybody and they just want
Mm-hmm.
to talk. Those guys are out there and I've had them all. If a guy is flaking or if he's like not coming through, then you know that he's one of those guys. But luckily Jorge wasn't and it ended up working out.
And then you got married. You had two awesome kids. You were so fun.
Yeah, so blessed.
I love it. I was reading some of the notes that you sent over to me about
Oh
some of
yeah.
your inspiration for dating, some of the books that you read, and you were dating before, and I think you said you had like a break in between when you really focused on dating and you started to kind of educate yourself on some new strategies. So I was wondering if you'd be willing to share those books and would you recommend them to our listeners?
Yeah, it wasn't just a passive thing anymore. When I got to my mid 20s, I had had a relationship that went back and forth for way too long. Sure, you remember that
Mm-hmm.
one. I was wasting a lot of time and energy on somebody who never had any intention of being with me for the long run. We were just going back and forth and wasting a lot of time. And around the time that broke off for good, one thing I always say, exes, they always come back. He did try to come back, but but after that was like pretty much done. I remember around that time, it was like 2012, 2013. Okay, my life's been pretty stagnant. I've been out of this relationship for a while. Not really dated that many people in Orange County. I don't know. I didn't meet a lot of guys when I was living in Orange County at the time. Just had this period where I need to think about the next step. I need to think about moving, getting a new job out of this area. I was in a job that I loved, but I loved the people, but it was not the right career path for me. Luckily, my friend Karina helped me get a job at when I worked at Murad at a skincare company in South Bay. I was able to move to West LA. That was the trigger, the catalyst for me was I moved to the West Side. That was my fresh start. It was the first time I lived on my own. I was in my late 20s and moved in with roommates
You guys
and
had the
started
coolest
getting in my
house.
online dating. Yeah, the Brookhaven house.
Yeah, so cool.
It was a really fun time. It was emotional, that transition, leaving your parents' house for the first time.
The comfort. Yeah.
It was one of my main goals was work out, stay fit, and then meet somebody. Always trying to date. I remember approaching it like a math problem because people constantly would tell me, and I'm sure they tell you the same thing. You're so pretty. You're so nice. You're so great. Why don't you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
One of the older ladies came up to me in the bathroom one day at my job and she was like, why don't you have a boyfriend? She was so bewildered. You don't understand the dating scene right now. It's not about those things.
Yeah. Why
It's
are you
like,
still
thank you.
single?
I thought I was great too, but no,
Yeah,
haven't found a guy who wants to commit to me.
exactly.
It just became this frustrating problem that I wanted to find an answer to. The book, he's just not that into you. And I think there was a movie too. I always thought, I don't want to play games. I'm too good for that. I don't need to play the games, right? But it
Right.
turns out you actually do have to play the game or the game is going to play you.
Hmm.
So my sister Emily, she used to drag guys through the dirt, man. She would treat them like crap, but guess what? They loved her and she always had a date.
She always had
She
people
always
coming
had
up
a
to the
man trying to
house,
get her.
putting roses on her
Yes.
car,
Putting roses on the
notes. Yeah,
car.
yeah.
Yes. And that was because she simply would not take any crap. The guys had to work for it and chase her. And that's what guys want.
That's who we need Emily to come on as well to talk
Oh
about.
man, she'll have so much
Oh
to say
my
about
God.
that.
Oh my
my
gosh. Yeah.
She always told me that, but I just rolled my eyes. I'm not playing games. But then when I started to get into my late 20s, dating wasn't going so well for me. I started to realize I think that's the thing to do. I did read He's Just Not That Into You. I think Allison actually kind of turned me onto it because Allison read it. It was
Sounds about
also one of my
right.
other friends. And so kind of like revived that idea to me. And I read that, cool, whatever. I had moved to the West Side and I was dating and trying to figure out why I couldn't meet a guy. One time, I don't know if I was reading something online or something was fed to me online. It was this book called Why Men Marry Some Women and Not Others.
I need
I was
that
like,
book.
what's this? Let me see this. And I loved it because it was kind of like a data driven explanation for why men marry some women, not others. And because you're just trying to figure out, like, why don't guys like me? Is it my looks? Is it my personality? I was like questioning, is there something wrong with my personality? But it was actually none of those things. But this guy took like a data approach and he literally interviewed and polled people who were in relationships, about to get married, whatever, and found the trends of people of what has to be true, what is true for people who are actually getting in relationships and getting married. There's ages, time frames. Men are thinking most about marriage right after college when they get their first jobs. Like there's this like age, like sweet spot. If they get to be too old, if they start to go out of that age sweet spot, the chances of them getting married goes down.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. And it was like talking about silly things like, oh, well, women who work out and take care of their bodies and wear makeup tend to get married. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. Nobody wants to hear that, but like, unfortunately, that's the truth.
But
Like,
at least it's the truth.
yeah. And I remember sharing it with my roommate and she was like pretty annoyed. She's like, oh, and a man wrote this book. Like she was really annoyed by that. But I was like, yeah, but this is like facts. It's not like the guy just wrote it. Like he did the due diligence to prove these things that are true. Unfortunately, they were kind of like sad but true. And one of the things that I took away from that book was that dating was like a ratio. It was like a numbers game. And it made a lot of sense when you start to think about it. Like if you spend all your time at home, you go to work, you go home, that's it. How many people do you interface with in that time? You know, maybe a few coworkers, maybe like the grocery store person, right? Like, and then you come home and then your small group of friends. Do you go out every week with your friends? Do you go out every other night? Like,
As I'm saying,
anyway,
silently answering, no.
Yeah, it's a ratio game.
Yeah.
Honestly, in today's world, meeting people organically is extremely hard to do, even if you are going out, because I went out multiple times a week. I went out with my girlfriends. I had people who lived close by. I was always out doing something, either going to the gym, going to the store, going out to dinner. I went out to dinner a lot when I lived on the West Side. I still didn't meet guys, whether it was they were intimidated by me or they just like, I think a lot of guys just didn't feel right. They felt they were going to intrude if you were having dinner with a girlfriend or something. I never met guys organically like that. That's why I had to increase my odds by going online and forcing myself to like talk to guys and go on dates with them. That was the thing that worked for me. So once I started to realize that this wasn't like there was something wrong with me. It was just a numbers game. Then I started to click and realize, okay, the more people I meet, the closer I'm going to get to meeting my husband. And lo and behold, less than 2 years after I moved to LA, I met Jorge, a year and 9 months or something.
And let's talk about your guys' relationship because I wasn't privy to everything that was going on. You were keeping it really quiet. And I just remember we got together and we went and we got I think we got tacos somewhere in
Oh,
LA.
I do remember this. Yes.
And this is like a day before you got engaged. And that's when I got,
Was it the day before?
yeah. It was the day
Gosh.
before. And then I think I met Jorge. We went and had sushi that one time
Oh,
when you guys
yes, when
came
I
to
came
San
to San
Diego.
Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And I was like, this guy, he's got the little love eyes. Okay. And we sat down and we had that conversation. And you're like, I think he's going to propose. And I was like, oh my God. Then he did. I felt like it was super fast,
It
but
was super fast. And that's actually one of the things in the book that the author, I think his name is John Malloy, that's what he talks about in the book, is it's also a time frame thing. If a guy is serious, he's going to act fast. He's not going to be like lollygagging. If a guy's trying to date you for multiple years, sorry, he's probably not going to marry you. Sometimes people get married. There are a lot of people who date for many years and they get married, but
I have a lot of older
them
friends
don't.
who say that same thing. They're like
Yeah.
6 months.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about this.
Yeah, that's it.
6 months. And the 6-month rule, with us, we got engaged after 6 months and we got married after 6 months. Boom, boom. If someone had told me that, I would have said, oh, that's not long enough. I don't know. But when it's the right person, everything just flows. That's one of the things I started to realize as I got more experience in dating. You don't have to make excuses for them. You don't have to negotiate things or rationalize things. Well, he's doing this. He's like this, but he's getting better, or maybe he'll change. You cannot expect people to change. You can't rationalize. Every time you're kind of trying to rationalize away a person, then it's probably not the right person. But everything when you're with the right person just flows so effortlessly. It's almost a little boring, I want to say. You definitely have your sparks and your chemistry, but it's not like that relationship that you're quote fighting for. You know what I mean? There's the excitement of like, is it going to work out? Is it not going to work out? Is he going to call me? Is he not going to call me? Like, there's that little bit of excitement that you feel with some guys that you're dating. They're never the right ones, unfortunately. The right guy is never going to put you on that chase.
At least I think I mentioned on one of my podcasts during COVID, I had nothing else to do. And I was like, oh my God, I'm nearing 40. I got nothing going on in my life. I'm not dating. So I did this group, Magnetize Your Man. I think I told you, Mary, if I
heard you
right.
talking about that.
And that was one of the things. And she said that it's not going to be all these flashy lights when you meet the right guy. It might actually be a little bit boring, but the right guy is consistent and it's just like flat. Yeah. Really stable. I thought that was really interesting because everyone's always looking for the flashy guy who's going to do the romantic gestures and all that sort of thing. But that's not always the case.
Yeah. You think it's going to be like the movies. Are they going to end up together?
Yeah.
No, it's not like that. It's just so stable. I remember telling that to one of my friends, and she also was dating at the time. She finally met a guy, started dating him. They've been together for years now. And she told me, oh my gosh, you were so right about that. The way the relationship just flows. You have to work at relationships, of course, because we have all kinds of nuances of relationships, but you don't have to fight so hard to make pieces fall into place when it's the right guy. So.
Absolutely. When you're in your 30s, we put so much pressure, and now I'm at my 40s. It's even worse once you go over the 40s, but you put so much pressure on yourself because you see that window of time, especially if you want to have a family, just dwindling away. And who do I need to date? When you were online and looking at dating multiple guys, were you specifically looking for the type of guy or perfect guy, or were you just dating anybody who sparked your interest?
It was a mix because, again, I was just trying to meet as many guys as I could. There were different types of guys, right? There's the guy who's just really good looking. And okay, fine, I'll go with you. And then there's the guy, and maybe he doesn't have some of the qualities you want, but he's not perfect, but oh, he's good looking. I'm going to go out with him. Then there's guys, maybe they're not as good looking, but they have everything else I want. They have a good job. They have the same types of interests as me. They seem like they have a good vibe. There's those guys. I would go with those guys. There's just a mix between all those nuances. It was physical attraction. Do we have things in common? Do I like the vibe? Because you read their little bio, you can catch a kind of their vibe. So it was like a combo of all those things. Then there was, of course, guys, you caught the vibe and you just, like, they could have been good looking, but you just caught the bad vibe. Like, I was interested in dating all the guys that I had some kind of an interest in, whether it was physical or emotional. I mean, you got to have a tiny bit of physical attraction to begin with, right? But
Right.
so I was open to all those guys. And of course, as I got a little older and got a little more mature, as I approached my 30s, definitely started to focus more on, does it say they want kids on their profile? That's definitely non-negotiable. If someone says they don't want kids, I most likely wouldn't have gone out with them.
Right.
If they're atheists, I'm religious like you are. In the beginning, I need someone who's my same religion. Oh,
Yes.
I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's a very niche religion. It was really hard to find guys in my religion, and culturally that religion is difficult. That's another conversation. But so it was hard for me to find guys in my actual religion who I was really interested in. I had good chemistry with. As I started to get to my 30s, I was always confiding in my mom. I remember her telling me, look, because I got disappointed by a lot of guys who were even members of my church. She'd be like, just find a good man. And when she told me that, I feel like it gave me permission to be a little more open and see what happens. Because, of course, I wanted to marry someone in my same religion because that makes a marriage a lot easier and smoother. But at the end of the day, I need someone who believes in God, is interested in maybe going to church, whatever.
Right.
But someone who's a good guy. And lo and behold, I met Jorge. And
It.
when he found out that my religion and found out that I wanted to raise my kids in the church, he was excited by that. That is insane to me because never any guy I dated was interested. I would have guys ghost me after they found out that I was religious. I would date guys and I would like them and I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe this is going to work. And they'd be like, wait, you go to church every week? Is it something you do every week? And then I would never hear from them again. Me a couple times and it was really hurtful, but
yeah. No, I
but at the
feel
same
that.
time, you can't be sad about it though, because that's just truly a fact of life. If you marry someone who doesn't want to go to church with you every week, you're going to be going by yourself. And if that's the life you
Yes.
want, you
Yeah.
can have that
And that
life.
was my
But
mom dragging her four girls to
yeah,
church.
and some people do that. But also, some people don't want to be married to somebody who goes to church every week. They want to
Right.
have their Sunday with you. They want
Yeah.
to relax. I had boyfriends who would be wanting to do things on Sunday. And I was like, I go to church and then I see my family doing Sunday.
When I was dating Troy, his question was, do you have to go to church every Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah, it was an issue.
But that's the thing. You can't get hung up on it because I got hurt by some of that. But then I was like, well, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to marry a guy who doesn't want that in his life. So why would I want to put it in? So I don't want, he doesn't want it in his life. Why would I want it like in my life?
Absolutely. How did you keep hope alive during dating when you had dry spells with dating, when you were discouraged, when you had your friends getting married? How did you hold it together?
When I moved out on my own, I got my own life routine. I would work out. That was good for my mental health. I would journal a lot. I would pray. But I can't lie. There were a lot of hard times. You listen to The Ramsey Show, John Deloney.
Yeah.
He says, facts are your friend.
Yes.
Like, I remember him always saying that. Facts are your friend. And facts are your friend. That's why I was reading those books, Why Men Marry Some Women and Not Others. Looking at the facts and realizing, okay, I'm doing everything I can based on the data to meet the right person. That's all I can do.
Right.
I'm dating. I was going on at least one date a week, maybe up to 4 or 5 a week. Well, some nights I would go every night with a different guy on a date. Knowing I was doing that, I felt I could rest easy. I would pray about it. Look, God, I've done everything I can do. I've gone out with as many guys as I can go out with. I'm trying to do all the right things. That's how you sleep at night. You've done everything you can. I remember thinking, well, if I'm not meant to meet anybody, then I did everything I could.
What were your non-negotiables? We talked a little bit about guys who were atheists and men who didn't want to have families. Were there any other ones that we missed?
I tried to be a very flexible dater because I believe in giving people chances. The only guys that I would not talk to would probably be an atheist. I may have even gone out with 1 or 2 atheists, honestly. But atheist or a smoker, I went out with one guy and I saw he was a smoker, but then some people say they're smokers, but then they like just smoke when they party. I wasn't sure, but I gave one of those guys a chance and then he was a smoker. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can't date you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
Smoker, heavy drinker. I did date guys who did drink, but people who said they like partied a lot, I wouldn't go out with guys like that.
What do you think about guys posting photos on their profile with drinking? Are other girls in the photos? Let's talk that. I should bring up the date I have.
To a degree, I took the pictures with a grain of salt. If every photo was him having table service in Vegas, you could tell those guys, right? If he had all these pictures where he's out partying, there's occasional friends' birthdays and things like that. You see that kind of stuff. Took it with a grain of salt, but you just get the vibe. It's funny. Dorothy and I, when we used to be online dating at the same time, we started a shared folder of images and
Oh
we
my
called
God.
it OK Creepers.
I
Or
love
OK
that.
Cute.
Oh my God. I
I
need
still
to
have
do
it in
that.
my phone, honestly.
That's hysterical.
We would screenshot guys' messages or photos
Mm-hmm.
of guys. And there were a lot of those creepers. You see them all the time. I would try not to judge it. It was just the overall vibe I would get from the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But I try not to judge them too hard because I think guys are clueless
They're
about trying to
so
curate their
clueless.
experience on their profiles.
How did you figure out what you actually wanted once you were at that age when you were more mature? Did you sit down and write a long list of things that you were looking for? Did you have a vision for it? Or was it just mental? This is what I'm looking for in my person.
I don't think I ever articulated it that much. And it might be dangerous to get too specific because you don't want to get too specific. Then you think that, oh, no, they have to be this. And then you turn away a good guy. I always had just like general guideline. I'm a very organic person. I'm a little bit airy fairy when it comes to that stuff. I just felt the vibe. And if I got a good vibe from somebody, then fine. Non negotiables. I don't know. I always wanted someone who sense of humor. I'm very lighthearted. I've dated guys who are like too serious, and you're like, bro, you're killing the vibe right now. You
Right.
just killed the vibe. I'm not having fun anymore. You're a little too serious. Sense of humor was like very top of the list, lighthearted, because at the end of the day, like life gets hard, life gets ugly. And if you can't have a lighthearted approach and laugh about things, then I don't know, you're going to have a sad life. The religion thing was definitely up there. Someone who believes in God or higher something.
Right.
The sense of humor. What else? Obviously not lazy. I don't know. There's some people, maybe you meet guys like this, just want to go to work, come home and watch TV
Just
or
lay
play video
around.
games all night. Right? I'm sure you run
Mm-hmm.
into those guys.
Oh,
Oh, I think you talked about somebody like that
yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
That's not okay. I'm the kind of person, and I think you are too, where we have so many projects we want to do. We don't even have time to do everything we want to do.
Yeah.
I'm over here. I work all the time. I want to have my Etsy shop. I want to do a YouTube channel. I
Exactly.
want to do a this or that. I want to work on my website. Join the gym again after
Okay.
5 years.
Right on.
After having
Cool.
2 kids, finally getting
Hey,
myself back into the
I
gym.
love it.
I want to get my fitness on. I have so many things I want to do. And there's just people who are totally content with just coming home, chilling, and then just going out on the weekend, drinking, of course,
That was the last guy I
partying,
dated. That's all he
right?
did was he
That's all they
played
care about.
video games, even while we were on the phone. And I was just
Is
like,
a I'm sorry. If that
so
guy ever
bad.
sees this video, you're never going to
No,
get married.
probably not. Yeah, no, it was so rude. And I would just end conversations because I could tell he was not paying attention to me at
He's like
all.
a little boy. Like, are
Yeah,
you 12?
yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh.
disrespectful. And I was like,
How old was this
whatever.
person?
He's 40.
40?
I've met so many guys that play video games. And when they say it's an occasional thing, it's every night to help them decompress. That's what his
And I
thing.
know guys do that. And it doesn't make them a bad person, but also if they don't have anything else going for them, that's a red flag. But I don't know. I mean, some women are like that too. And those people deserve each other, right? Some
Right.
women just want to go to work and come home and vibe and fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah, and
That's
some
their
people are
life. That's
gamers.
okay.
Like my coworker, her and her
Yeah.
husband are gamers, and that's their
Yeah.
bonding thing. So
If that's their thing,
yeah,
then
that
cool.
works
But
for
I'm
them.
just too busy.
You're right about like just having so many ideas and having ambition and wanting to do all these different projects and very similar. And then you don't have a man that you're with that fits that energy. It's not going to work.
I had an ex-boyfriend when I was doing my acting in college. I would go to auditions and he'd be like, why are you going all the way to LA? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that big drive and just for this thing? Because it's my passion. I love it. And he just didn't get it because he was one of those people who just wanted to have a job that paid you well enough so that you could have enough time to relax.
Right.
Because life for them is just about relaxing. It's not about having a goal or building yourself, making yourself better. They just want to enjoy themselves. Life is about enjoyment for them, which is definitely part of it, but it's also about advancing and having goals and becoming your best self.
Yeah, I cannot imagine you with somebody who was just lazy and slothy. I
Oh,
just can't imagine that
no, and
ever.
like Jorge is just like me. He matches my energy. We both try to do too much. We try to do too much to our detriment. We both actually need to sleep more. We have a very bad work life balance right now, but he has so much going on. He does his YouTube, he has his job, he's got a couple different types of jobs he does. So we're both just everywhere all the time.
Yeah, it's insane. What advice for women would who are tired of swiping and feeling discouraged online? What kind of advice would you give people like me who are over it?
I mean, this is 2025, and unfortunately, more and more artistically, the best way you're going to meet a man is online, unfortunately. Meeting people organically is so hard. We're in more of a global society, right? And it's not like it used to be where like, you had your like, little your family all lived close by. Your community was only so big, right? So you knew you
Right.
were going to marry somebody in one of these families that you grew up by, right? That's not life anymore. Meeting people is very different now. It's very
Yeah.
hard. It's like a job. I told you, it's like your
Mm-hmm.
part-time job. And like all things in life, what you put into it is what you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know right now your fitness journey, you are so dedicated to it right now. And I'm so proud of you for that. And I'm inspired by you.
Oh my God.
You put so much energy into that, right? Are being so careful about your diet, you're shopping for the right foods, you're meal planning, you're going to the gym, you're doing your cold plunging, you're doing your hikes all the time. That is a huge component of your life. Dating is kind of the same thing. You got to go online, look for people, make sure you're being open to people,
Mm-hmm.
going out with this many people. That's the only thing. Or if you have other ways of meeting people, put the word out in your group of friends that you're trying to meet somebody. If there's a mutual friend that you think might be interesting, have them hook you up. You need to take initiative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always thought, could the right guy just show up? And then guess what? They never did.
Yeah.
Nobody ever hooked me up with like this monumental man. I never had that luxury of like, wonderful guys just knocking down my door. I didn't have a lot in my network that were single.
Yep.
I had to go work for all my opportunities. Unfortunately, that's what dating is. You have to work for it. Anything good in life you have to work for, right? You have to work for those opportunities to meet people. When we're young, you think it's going to happen organically because you're
Mm-hmm.
having a social life and yeah, I'm going to meet guys. Yeah, you're going to meet guys, but you're not going to probably meet the right one.
Even the whole thing of like, oh, you have time. Oh, you have time. I had a lot
They
of
tell
people
you that.
telling me
They tell
that.
you that for years.
And
People
then
were
I'm
telling
like,
me that in my 30s. You
yeah,
have
you have
time.
time. I said, well, I'm 41. Are you going to tell me I
There
still have
becomes a
time? I'm
time. Now,
going to be
yeah,
50 in
now,
nine
are we
years. Like,
hearing
come on.
crickets now? Did they?
I hated that when people would be like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
you
feel
still
you.
have time. As my fertility drops and as I
Every
get
year.
older, my hair gets
Yeah.
grayer.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I mean, you need to take matters into your own hands. That's what I did before I met Jorge is I took ownership and responsibility of it. You never think about it. Like you just think you're going to meet somebody.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, they met at a dance hall in 1954 or you know what I mean?
Mm.
Back in the day, they didn't have to work to find their mates. Mates, my mom calls them mates. They didn't have to work to find their soulmate.
Yeah, it
They
was like
just
kind of
found
built.
them.
Yeah, it was kind of built into their whole culture.
Society.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and people got married so much younger.
Oh my,
When people were graduating from high school, they were like, "Where's my husband? Where's my wife?" Guys were on the same page. Now
yeah.
guys are like, "I have forever." That's also part of the problem is they don't feel the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm finding as I came into my 40s that there's a lot of guys who are divorced and there's quite a few guys who have kids. I'm not saying that there's not single guys out there, but I had to adjust my pool instead of just saying I want someone single because I just knew, okay, well, if I don't open up my pool a little bit more, I'm just limiting myself. It's not ideal. It's not what I'm looking for, but you never know.
Let me also throw out in that book that I mentioned, they do talk about some of the numbers on men who have been divorced or who have kids and are divorced.
Hmm.
Men who have married before have an extremely high likelihood that they will marry again when they're older, right? As I told you, there's that sweet spot. After they pass the late 30s, their chances of getting married drop dramatically. I think it's after 38 for
Hmm.
However, if they're divorced or they've been married before or they're widowed, their likelihood of marrying again is extremely high. So
Interesting.
those are guys actually that you may want to really look at, because a man who is 40 or older or late 30s and older who is not married has a much lower probability that he is going to commit to you. It's not impossible,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just the numbers on that. Unfortunately, you do have to look at people like that. But I mean, you want a quality guy, and you get a better quality because they've already been in the relationship or they've already been married. They know
Mhm.
how they need to act as a husband. They
This
know
kind of
that dynamic.
Yeah, and this kind of falls into the next question is how do we keep our standards high as a woman? I've been told my standards are way too high and that I need to drop it
You told
back.
me that too.
Yeah, but also keep your heart open to other men.
How to keep your standards high, but also keep your heart open.
Mhm.
You have to have your standards, but what is your standard? You need to look at your standards and say, and truly look at it and say, okay, is this my standard? Is this a moral standard, or is this more of a artificial standard, right?
Mhm.
So look at your standards. There are basic standards, right? They need to be a respectful person.
Mhm.
They need to have some degree of joy or happiness about them, or they need to make you a better person. I think you need to be around a partner that makes you better, right? They don't
Mhm.
drag you
Right.
down, whether it's emotionally or any other way. But I think those are like 6 standards. And then, of course, like whatever the spiritual, religious standard is, those are your core standards.
Right.
But if it's something beyond that, really look at it. Like, am I just making up these rules that he needs to do, that he needs to work out 7 days a week with
Mhm.
me, right?
Yeah.
Or he needs to 6'1" and over or something like that, you
Yeah.
know?
I know that was like
We
my
need to
six and
examine our
out.
standards and question them and make sure that we're not ruling people out who deserve a chance.
This goes back to the dating group that I was in, and she had us write a list of our ideal partner, and then we broke it down to what does that mean? Not just in the person, but what are
Boiling
you
it down,
needing in
yeah.
life? For me, it was security. A lot of that just kept coming up. I need security and stability. And when I broke it down that way, this is really what I'm trying to say with my list of 26 things on it.
Right.
But this is what I value. This is what I need to have a partner that can move through life with. That was eye opening. We had 20 women on this group and we did this exercise. It was like, whoa. All this time I'm thinking, I want a guy like this and I want a guy that has this. It's like, no, you're looking for stability. You're looking for security. You're looking for A, B, and C. That's really
Yeah.
what's underneath all of these things on your list.
When you meet the right guy, again, that's just one thing that falls into place. That need probably speaks to maybe your past experiences too. You've had guys who you don't trust for many reasons,
I was going to
and
just ask you that
that creeps
question.
back.
Yeah, about how did your past heartbreaks prepare you for the relationship that you're in now?
It was a good training because it helped me realize, it helped me grow as a person, what will put up with and what I won't put up with, because,
Mhm,
over the years, going through different relationships and seeing how badly you were treated by men
mhm,
in the past or how they tried to treat you, then you realize that standard of like, oh yeah, that looks like that. And that's
mhm,
not what I want. When you learn, you see how not to do things. I had a lot of experience on how not to do things
mhm,
and what I don't want in a husband. You think about the guys you dated in your 20s, and that was not going to be a good husband.
mhm. And I'm also thinking about how a lot of us women, I know I do this a lot, that I blame myself for relationships not working and not
Oh.
understanding that it's really not about me personally. It's just about what this person is going through or what they're looking for or what they want to
Yes.
get out of relationships.
Yeah, there was a time where rejection with online dating, I'm going through so many guys a week. I'm dating some guys I don't like, some guys I really do like, and then they don't end up liking me back.
Mhm,
Trying to understand why a guy doesn't like you, because you automatically think, oh, it's because I'm ugly, or oh, it's because I have a bad personality. What's wrong with me?
mhm,
Is there something wrong with
mhm,
me? My character that I don't realize? Those were the 2 things that were the most hurtful. Is it because of that? But no one
mhm,
ever told me either of those things. No one
mhm,
ever told me, "Oh, you're such a nasty person." No one ever told me, "Oh, I'm just not I like no, I don't like the way you look," or something. No one told me those things. What it really came down to was just stupid things. There was a guy I went out with, and we've had these dates where everything's magical. The guy is so handsome. He has a great career. He's my same religion. Oh my gosh, what if this is my husband, right? We go on
Right.
the perfect date, and it's the perfect date. At the end of the date, they even make the next date. Well, yeah, I want to take you here because we talked about this place on our date. I want to take you there. Oh my gosh, okay, yeah, let's go, right? Silence. You never hear from them again. That's
Gross.
it.
So gross.
And I've had that happen a couple times. And this one particular guy I'm talking about, I was really excited about him. We talked for a while. We went out
Yep.
on this one date. I thought everything, we had great chemistry. We're going on a second date. He already invited me. Never heard anything from him.
That's so
I
crazy.
was devastated. I mean, in a smaller scale, devastated. My life was not over. I was sad about it for a couple weeks, but I never heard from him. And I'd been dating for a couple, at this point, I don't know. I've been in LA for maybe a year. And I need to understand why I'm getting ghosted right now. Typically, I would not recommend for you to follow up. I would say just let it go.
Yep.
But I was actually really curious. This was when I was trying to understand the data of why my dates are not working, right? And I texted the guy and I was like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I just wanted to know what happened. Why did you
Right.
blow me off? Straight up. I said, yeah, normally I wouldn't reach out and ask something like this, but like, I'm just actually genuinely curious what happened. Very simply, he said, I just met someone else I liked better. That was it.
Yeah.
Nothing about me. And wow, that's totally valid. If he was online dating, he probably went out with a girl a few days later and was like, oh yeah, I really like this girl. Instead of going out with multiple girls at once, which I was going out with multiple guys at once just to see what came to fruition. But he was like, no, I just want to go out with this girl now. It was obviously hurtful that I didn't get chosen, right? But
Sure.
I couldn't be mad at that. I feel like that's one thing in dating you need to remember is we're not everybody's cup of tea. We're not the perfect match for everybody. That's okay. You can't take that personally. You can't be everybody's cup of tea. And the sooner you start to not take that personally, the better you will be in dating. I think that was a good lesson for me. That if a guy doesn't call you, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means it wasn't a good fit. Why would you want to push something that's not a good fit?
Yeah, that's so
That's the
true.
thing. You feel sad about people who don't like you. That is so actually really stupid, but it's just we can't help it because we're human. But it literally makes no sense to feel bad for someone not liking you because why would you want to waste your time on someone who doesn't like you, who doesn't see what a great person you are?
This just
So,
reminds me of the whole Washington guy and going up there
oh,
and
that one was the recent one.
spending
Yeah.
3 days traveling up to Washington and staying up there. And one of the reasons he had a litany of reasons why he didn't think it was going to work, but one of his reasons was literally from the point that we met that he did not like that I expected him to open a door.
Red
And
flag.
that was his thing that he harped on the whole time. He's like, I just could not let that go, that you just expected me. Okay, let me talk
He
about
has
this.
something wrong.
Okay, let me talk about this because forgot the guy that he listened to his podcast, and there's this male dating expert, but now he's teaching men that women should chase them.
Oh my.
Yeah. And when we were talking, because I was like, what is your deal? I just could not understand. He goes, oh, this is the way things are going now, or this is what you're teaching men.
Reference this expert, this
Oh
quote
yeah, he
expert.
totally sent me this
Oh, so
expert.
someone told him he's supposed to treat you like crap and that's
Yeah,
going to lead to a fulfilling
basically. Yeah,
relationship.
I just could not
Okay.
understand it.
Oh,
This is stupid. This is not going to help anybody get into a positive relationship.
maybe he needs to date like a 20-year-old or something,
Maybe.
but any self-respecting woman who you actually want to spend time with is not going to put up with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a whole litany of other reasons. Another thing I want to bring up from the last guy that I dated in December and things didn't work out was he kind of kept stringing me along when he knew, date number 4, that he was no longer interested. So how do you weed out those guys and not continually go on dates with them when they're not progressing the relationship or the communication?
The stringers.
Yes.
We all know the stringers. They talk about the stringers. John Malloy talks about it in that book too, the stringers. because that is a type of man. And as you date more, you start to see them. You could see them a mile away. I started to get pretty good. After I texted with somebody for a little bit, I would like to say, okay, you're a stringer. And I would just let him go.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple guys like that. They would just want to text me forever. They'd want to text me all the time, see me every once in a while. And it went on and on and on. And then we'd never make anything official. I would just keep them over here. And I know that this guy was going to probably text me in a month
Right.
or whatever. You just have to start ignoring those guys.
Do you remember one of your worst dates or your most awkward date? Can you tell us why it sucks so bad?
I have a couple. I have one that was like actually really hilarious. I have family members who lived in Utah, not as many anymore. My brother still lives there and I have some family there. Every time I would go to Utah, I would like up on the app, right? Start swiping the area, get my dates set up because I was going on dates while I was there visiting because I wasn't going to be at home at night. I was going out. And there was one guy that I met. He was okay. I didn't think he was super hot, but he seemed like a nice guy. We had stuff in common. So I met him for dinner and it was going good. But then he kept disappearing. I remembered during dinner, he got up and went to the restroom. He was gone for a long time. I was like, okay, bro, whatever. Then he came back and I ran into one of my old students I was talking to. And I was like, okay, whatever. It was weird. Before the dinner was over, he ran away at least another time or two.
Oh my gosh. What is his deal?
Okay. So then I probably shouldn't have, but I went back to his house. I mean, I knew he had roommates and stuff and I probably shouldn't have. And looking back, I'm like, why did you go to some guy's house? You barely just met him for the first time. Crazy. But I went back to his house and showed me around his house and we were just talking in his living room and we ended up watching part of a movie or something. Anyway, he tried to kiss me, all that. Whatever. But while I was at the house, of course, when we got there, he ran to the restroom again.
Oh my God. What the heck?
And there was a point when I was in his bedroom and waiting for him. He was showing me his bedroom whenever I was in his room. He went to the restroom. Whatever restroom he went to, I could hear that he was having explosive diarrhea.
No. Okay? No.
I heard some indication. It's been years. I can't remember. I was hearing noises through like a wall. Okay. Ew. Something was up down the hallway. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's sick. He's gone to the restroom 5 times. So gross. This is bizarre. And then I was just like, okay, this guy's got the run. Something happened to him, whatever. Of course, I was like, I got to get out of here. I was trying to exit this situation immediately. I wasn't actually really feeling him that much anyway. And this was making it really awkward. I managed to finally get out of there, say bye to him, whatever. I drive home, everything. Then as I'm thinking about it, that night or the next day, it clicked. When I got to his house and he took me to his kitchen, he was showing me that he got this new food dehydrator and he was going crazy dehydrating all this fruit and all these types of things. And I was like, holy crap.
Too much
he just
fiber.
ate. He went crazy on the dehydrated fruit and he's got the runs. Too much dehydrated. I think that's what
horrible.
happened.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
because I would have personally
disgusting.
would have been like, oh God, he's calling another girl. Seriously, during our date.
I'm in the beginning, that's what I was thinking when we were at the restaurant. I was getting a little annoyed because he's already left a couple times. Like, and he's not at the bathroom. What's he doing? And then when we got to his house and he kept running to the bathroom, then I knew something was up. And I remembered the food dehydrator. And I was like, I think he just ate too many prunes.
He's God.
Like, or apricots. He was drying all kinds of fruit. Oh my gosh, this guy's got diarrhea.
Yeah, that's so disgusting. Romantic. So romantic.
That was hilarious.
Oh my God.
Anyway, that was my funniest one. I have one. If you want to talk about guys paying on the date.
Let's talk about this because
that's a hot topic.
Because
when I was young, when I was in my early 20s dating, didn't have as much confidence. I didn't understand the game, right? I shouldn't expect that the guy's going to pay for me. I shouldn't expect it. I should always offer to go half, right? In my early dating years, I would offer to go half, but most guys would say no.
Right.
As I look back, some of the guys who said yes, wow, I'm glad it didn't work out with you. You had money, you had a career, and you still let this little 20-year-old girl go half on the meal with you, even though you've been in a famous band or you have a good career. Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. What I learned is that if you're dating somebody and they're paying for all the meals and activities, and then you get to a date and they're like, hey, can we split it? that means that
Awkward.
relationship is over, which I've already dealt
It
with.
is so ugly.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb was early courting stage where they need to pay for you. Depending on the guy's situation, I would say that would be at least the first month or something, right? They should be paying for pretty much all the dates. Unless it's something expensive you guys are doing, a unique activity. But if it's just dinner or a movie, he needs to be paying.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to know that until I was older. I remember my friend Tammy, as I got into my 30s, she's a little older than me. When I talked to her about my dating, she'd be like, no, a real man is going to take you to dinner and he's going to pay. If he's
Right.
not going to, then that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
None of these coffee dates. She'd be like, what are these
Yes.
coffee dates?
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I think there's something to that. I had this one date. Most guys would pay. I would try not to assuming you're going to pay. I would just wait for them to be, oh, I'm paying, right? This one guy, I was not even feeling him. He was kind of an annoying personality, but he wanted to go to this super expensive vegan restaurant, which you probably heard of, Cafe Gratitude, which is an overpriced vegan restaurant. Fine. I've been there a couple times, whatever. So I went and he was ordering everything on the menu. He wanted like appetizers, the fancy pressed juices. He's like, oh, do you want to get a juice? Do you want to get this? And I was like, sure. Okay. You're getting a juice. I'll get a juice. I don't usually order juice, whatever. I was going along with it. Okay, cool. Whatever you want to do. Because I'm letting him lead. This is the first date. I want to see where he takes it. I go along with it and we order whatever he wants and I go with whatever suggestion. And then we get to the end of the meal. I knew people talk about themselves and they have this vibe. He had this vibe I was not feeling. He was very arrogant for what he was, I guess. I don't know if he was just insecure, but he's just a little too arrogant for me. And by the end of the meal, he put his card down. And me being in my regular, I just acted like I didn't see him. I just kept on going. The server, she jetted over and grabbed that as fast as she could.
Hilarious.
I actually didn't even have a chance to put my card down, even if I thought about it. He was yapping away. I was just listening. She hurried and grabbed that. She ran that card. She brought it back. And then he's signing it, but you can tell he's kind of like in his head thinking, what the hell? And I was just going along, I want this date to be over. Let's leave. And then at the end of the date, at the end of the meal, he made a snarky comment. I don't even remember how he said it. Oh, well, you didn't even offer to pay half or something like that. And I was like, I kind of laughed a little bit and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you were wanting me to pay half. I'm very sorry. I mean, the girl came so quick. I didn't even know anyway, but sorry, you should have told me. And then he had already paid for it. He's like, okay, well, and then we went on and he walked me into my car and everything. He's like, oh, well, why don't you just take me to the wine bar across the street and you get some drinks or whatever. And I was like, I don't even drink. No, sorry. Like, he's just at my car door, won't leave me alone. And I was like, bye, bro. I'll see you later. I have to go. I just left because I was already so turned off.
Yeah.
It goes further, Samara.
Okay, tell me more.
He texted me that night. And that next morning, he kind of went on a little thing about ranting about it to me, like that night.
That's so weird.
And then the next day, he sent me his PayPal information so I could PayPal him for my half of the fruit.
That's horrible.
And you want to know the best part? Homie
Tell
G,
me.
I forgot his name. I thought his name was Tyler the whole time that I went on the date with him. His name was Taylor, apparently, according to the little PayPal. So I didn't even know his name that whole freaking date.
Yeah.
I had the wrong name the whole time.
Whoopsie-doo.
But anyway,
that is ridiculous.
Taylor,
Freaking
that
Taylor.
Little boy.
Yeah, that's so cringy.
But yeah, isn't it funny how I already didn't like his vibe before that incident even happened? I already knew that he was bad people before he even did this whole shenanigan with the bill. Really pay attention to how you feel with the person. And by the time you get to be our age,
this is not the same situation, but also like listening to that vibe that you get, that when you're not excited about going on a date, which there's been a couple that have been like, oh, I'm not excited. I don't know why I'm going, right? And I drag myself on this date, but not this last guy, dated a guy again in December. And we went and we had Filipino food, right? If you remember right, he's the guy that was telling me about his ex-girlfriend and how she left him the second day of a 7-day cruise.
Yeah.
Of course, because I wasn't feeling him anyways, I was like, go ahead, tell me more, as I'm stuffing lumpia into my mouth. Yeah, I was just there for a free date. Yeah. But it was he was giving me all the information that I needed to confirm why I should not date him again. And for me, what sealed the deal other than the story was just that so many guys that I've dated, they walk you to your car and then they wait for you to start your car and to leave.
Yes.
He
They
straight
make sure
got
you get
in his car and he left.
he peeled out. He
He
was like,
was
"See ya. Won't
done.
wanna
He
be
was
ya."
done. And I was just like, yeah,
No.
that's
That's a
not
sign.
cool. That's not
Those
okay.
are the little tiny hints, especially this guy who doesn't open the door for you. That's mind-boggling to me.
Ugh, he had a whole freaking theory
That's
about
mind-boggling to
that.
me.
Yeah, he was
A
like,
man
"Well, I
who
don't
doesn't
open
open a
the
door
door
for a
for my
woman.
mom."
Say, yeah.
Yeah, he went on his whole thing. He was just talking about because he was a farmer and they live a different life, right? But you're dating and you're trying to find a wife. So you think you might want to step it up your normal way of being. It's the little things. I was like, seriously, you can't open my freaking door? And the thing that was so funny was that we got to the street where we had the restaurant and I was kind of just sitting there like, you're going to come open my door. And so like I just sat in the car and then he finally came
Got the
around
hit?
and he came around and then I was just like, oh, I was like, oh, never mind. You don't want to open the
Wow.
door for me. And then I slammed his car door, his truck door
Oh,
into the
Samara.
tree. Yeah, it was, and I didn't mean
That's
to. I
hilarious.
think
Yeah.
subconsciously maybe I meant to do it, but I was like,
Yeah.
oops, I'm sorry. And yeah, I
And you
don't
have
know.
to also wonder, a man who can't even go out of his way to open a door for you, can you imagine what that man's going to be like when
Mm-hmm.
you're in labor having his baby,
Mm,
when you're at home with two screaming kids and your life is so stressful
yeah.
and you
No
have a sink full of
respect.
dishes? How's that guy going to be acting?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go out well for
Mm-mm.
you.
Yeah. You don't treat your women like your cattle on your family farm. That's not how we do it.
Yeah, you have to wonder what his dad is like. His dad is probably not the greatest
I just
example.
like, come
Usually where it comes from.
on. I'm getting bad advice from these online dating experts and social media dating experts. And it's like, are you even in a relationship right now? I bet you 100% of the time, the guy that's spitting out the stupidity is single.
Yeah,
Just crazy.
exactly. That's crazy. What's this guy's name? Let's put him on blast.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
know his name? Not the guy that you dated, the expert, the quote expert.
Okay.
Because now I want to look this guy up who's like wrecking men's lives.
Ben was the guy I
I've had,
dated. I don't remember the expert. He was just one of those people that he loved to message and he loved to have someone to text. But it was the little things that matter, showing respect and
yeah. I
reverence.
mean, if you can't do that, you're dead in the water. I mean,
Yeah,
because I think that
so
speaks
ugly.
volumes about your life and how you grew up and the way your dad treats people. I feel like a lot of guys take a lot of cues from the way their dads raised them and their mothers showed them how to treat women. If a guy is acting like that, no offense to his parents,
Yeah.
but he probably wasn't taught how to treat a woman and he's not going to learn now,
Okay,
unfortunately.
let me bring up another thing. Okay, I'm not going to say which guy this is, but can we talk about body odor?
Oh
Okay,
my gosh.
have you ever gone on a date with a guy that, you know, he starts the date off and he smells clean, but as the date goes on, he
My
starts to
gosh.
have some stinky odor.
Nervous sweat, because you know the
Yeah.
nervous sweat people get, it smells like onions. So if he was smelling like onions, then he was nervous.
Yeah,
That's what I've heard.
gross. Like,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I had that happen. So I was just thinking, oh, maybe it's because, like, he's nervous and is,
That's so sad.
deodorant or whatever, right?
That
We went,
deodorant's not doing its job,
yeah.
okay?
So then we went hiking and then he was like, oh, you can use
Yeah.
my jacket. And I picked up his jacket. And for some reason, I was like, let me
Oh
just
my
smell this
gosh.
to see if it's
Oh my
fresh.
gosh.
And
I
it
can't believe it.
stunk.
That's horrendous. I mean,
It stunk. I
honestly,
threw it back down because it was so gross.
in his defense, though, as a man, men just don't wash clothes very much. I feel like he probably should have washed that jacket a long time ago,
So
and he just
gross.
probably hasn't washed it in months or maybe a year. He probably is
Yes.
so
Like
used to
so
it
gross.
smelling that he doesn't even know.
Yeah, I was
I
like, oh,
mean,
I'm not cold anymore. I'm not going to use it. I'm good.
I never had a guy smell like that before, thankfully. All my guys smelled pretty good. But I do remember there was this one guy that I dated, and I was loosely dating him. It kind of turned into just, oh, he lives close by. He comes over and helps me. We go on dates sometimes. I think he was trying to court me. I kind of friend zoned him,
Mm,
but we were dating for a hot second. Something about his body chemistry smell, because it wasn't like BO, it was just the way he smelled to me. It was his raw pheromone, the way his body smelled to me, it was very off-putting.
yeah.
He wasn't like an ugly guy. he was attractive enough. He was fine. But that scent that I got from him was very off-putting. So there's something about that body chemistry. I don't know.
Even with the extra cologne type of guy that they just go overboard with the cologne. Have
Yes,
you
I'm
ever had
married to
that?
one. I'm sorry, no. He uses a really strong one and he just like I think he just sprays a lot. Lately he hasn't been so bad. Jorge likes to wear a lot of cologne. But I'm not really.
That makes me like choke. I can't stand on it. One of my coworkers, he wears a lot of
No,
cologne.
you like feel sick.
I feel
Toxic.
nauseous
I
and I'm
give
just
him
like
trouble
gross.
about it.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
be like, the bathroom has smelled like cologne for 6 hours. You know that's a problem, right? I can't go in there. I'm going to have an asthma attack.
He needs to go outside and spray that and air it out.
Now that I bought him the little one you can dab on, he's better.
Okay,
But when he was
good.
just like willy-nilly spraying himself down like body spray, this is not body works. Like
Oh
this is
my
like
God.
heavy perfume cologne, you know?
And the older I get, the more simple I get. So when you're like in your early teens, maybe you're like, I wonder if this guy smells like cologne. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I hope he smells like soap. Just something
I just want
fresh.
to clean a guy who took a shower today,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes. Yes. And we could talk about the teeth. Okay. We can talk about the teeth.
Oh, the teeth, very
And
much,
I
yeah.
really thought that I was being too picky. And so the last guy I dated in December, his teeth were horrible, really, really horrible. And I'm like, you have a good job and you have health insurance and you aren't getting like his teeth look like they were brown.
So
So
sad.
bad. You can go get some like porcelain,
Get some veneers.
yeah, veneers, right? To cover them up. I'm
Or
just
get
like,
like a really good whitening treatment. You know, those
no,
can work
whitening would not have
wonders.
helped. Whitening would
Oh, the
not have
whitening
helped.
was beyond whitening.
No, it was beyond. Like it was literally brown. I gave him
It's
a chance.
healthcare, you know?
Yeah. Do I even want to kiss this person? We never kissed. I think that was why. We went out
Yeah,
on
no.
several dates and I just could not bring myself to doing it.
Was he a former smoker, you think? Did
Maybe.
he smoke before,
Maybe
maybe?
I could not get past that. And I thought I was being so shallow, just being like, guys just
Yeah.
need, they don't have that perfect teeth. They don't have to be pearly white, but they need to look like they care about their dental hygiene, you know?
Same. I used to not think that I cared about that until I started to look around and say, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to kiss that. But yeah, same thing. They don't have to be perfect, but like, I just need to know that you brushed your teeth. There's not like plaque all around your
Oh my
teeth. You know what I'm
gosh,
saying?
yeah.
Like,
Dated plenty of those. I'm like, get a water pick and blow that stuff off. It's so gross.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I think I could tell guys' hygiene pretty well from their photos. I never really had a problem with guys like that.
Picking up on that evidently because
They
like
must be editing those photos
I
pretty
don't
hard.
know. It's so funny because I was just shocked. You know, it's when a guy doesn't smile in a photo, to me that's a red
Oh, you know he's
flag
got bad teeth.
because he must have bad teeth. Yeah, I'm
I feel
looking for a
bad for
smiley
some
guy.
people, yeah, who like didn't get braces when they were kids and they have like some weird.
A lot of these
things
guys have
happening.
really good jobs and I'm like, go get your teeth fixed. You
I
know?
know grown
It's
men who have gone
insane.
and gotten braces later in life
Yeah.
or Invisalign.
Go get your whole
Yeah.
freaking mouth redone. I mean, I would like, but you know, I don't know.
It's the first thing people see. And they do say that that will dictate your success in life. Actually, I don't remember the
really?
stat, but I remember seeing something that people who don't take care of their teeth won't do as well in their careers. They won't make as much money.
Like
Invest your smile,
homeless or
investing your
something.
smile, right?
Yeah.
It's
No,
true.
it's a big deal. It doesn't make you want to kiss that person. You really
No,
don't. Like,
that's terrible.
yeah, no. And the smoking, that's another thing. I can't with the
No.
smoking at all. It's just
Yeah,
gross.
I kissed a smoker only one time in my life, barely. And my words to him were, "Your mouth tastes like an ashtray." And I felt really, he was kind of like a friend
Yeah.
who was trying to be more than friends. So I was able to be candid with him.
Hilarious.
It wasn't like a guy I barely knew. He knew me pretty well. And of course, he was offended by it.
Yeah.
But
Hey, it's true.
I was like, wow, this is next level.
So gross.
Wow. I never knew how bad it could be.
Yeah, don't smoke. And especially even if you smoke cigars, you can still taste that
It's still
on
bad
your
for you
teeth.
too.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
What are some tips for a guy to make a good impression on a first date?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of guys get caught up on wanting to impress the girl. I want to say this. I want to act super confident. I want to do this. They want to be all rico suave, right? That's dangerous because then women don't see who you are authentically. People need to just remember, men and women, to be yourself on that first date. I can be a real goofball, say silly things. I didn't hold back on that kind of part of my personality because I want someone who matches that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
going to match my freak, right? Someone's going to
Yeah.
match
Yeah.
my silliness. And so I feel like some people on first dates are scared to be who they really are, which does them a disservice because then your person is not going to identify you because you're hiding who you truly are. Number one, that's what it is. Because I've been on dates with guys concealing themselves because they're scared that they're going to look stupid or whatever. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, this room kind of reminds me of a conversation I had with my oldest sister where, you always know it's going to be a heavy conversation if she says, "Hey, let's go sit down and go eat." We had a whole conversation about how worried she was about our dating lives. She talked about vulnerability. Like, this is the thing that I felt was the game changer for me and how I met my husband was I learned that I needed to be more vulnerable and truly be myself. I tell everybody
That's such good
anything.
advice.
I just don't care.
That's very wise.
But who's worthy of my vulnerability?
You won't ever know unless you do it. That's the hard part. That was something for me with dating too, was like, you have to put yourself out there and be yourself and be vulnerable, or else that person's not going to find you. Your person is not going to see you. So you always have to be putting it all out there, which is a hard thing to do, but you're not going to reap the rewards unless you open yourself up. You give much, you're going to receive much. If you don't give much, you're not going to receive much. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
That's very wise of her. Vulnerability is a really a thing.
Yeah. What would you suggest guys do to make themselves stand out?
It's hard to be a good writer. I'm a writer by trade. That's my job. And being able to write and communicate your personality in words, I think is hard for some people. It's not something that comes naturally. Jorge, in his profile, he was literally just like a stream of consciousness. He just wrote, it's like he was talking. That's a good way to be. Just write it as if you're speaking it. What sounds impressive on paper or on the screen. Again, that goes back to vulnerability, though, is being your authentic self,
Right.
not putting what you think people want to read. Because if you put what you think people want to read, then they're going to be disappointed when they meet you because it's not you.
Yeah.
That's also the thing with photos, too. Present who you are physically and emotionally in what you write, because that's when your date's going to go awry. They're going to see you or they're going to talk to you and they're going to be like, that's not the person I signed up for, because that profile is not your profile. You put on a picture of yourself from 10 years ago. You're not that same person anymore. You wrote something that I could never hear come out of your mouth. So
the guy I dated in December, he was way heavier guy than I normally would date. And the thing I appreciated was that he put current photos and he said, I didn't want to pretend that I was my high school weight because I'm not there anymore. He goes, so anybody who was willing to go out with me had to be okay with me being overweight. I'm working on it, but this is who I am right now. I super appreciated that. Just good, clear photos
just
of
be
your
direct
face.
with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so awkward when, you get on a date and I didn't really have this happen too much, but yeah, it's a different person than what I saw in the photo. You're just doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to wrap up this podcast because you have been a trooper.
It's been so fun.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're so busy with being a mommy and a wife and working. So appreciate it so much. We're going to have to do another one someday because we still have some nuggets that we could talk about. We should go look through dating profiles. I'll just give you my
We should do a critique. We should do a live critique of guys who you've talked who in your past, whatever messages or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that guy that sent me that repeat message that like he already sent. Yeah.
And I feel like when you look through your inbox and your online dating, you can almost group them. There's all the different types of guys. It's so easy to critique their profiles. That would be fun. We'd have to blur out their pictures.
Thank you so much, Mary, for your time. I hope that this podcast helps all the girls in their 30s and 40s. There's a lot of us who are over 40 and we're still out there trying to make it work. And it honestly gets harder the older that you get. But to not lose hope and put all your energy into Dating I learned from Mary is even if you don't want to, you got to go and you got to look every night and interact with people, not just kind of be like a creeper watching people and not interacting. Yeah. To close this out, remember that you are worthy of all great things in life, love, happiness, and joy. And I look forward to seeing all of you in our next podcast.